Hey, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with Crank.com and with That Metal Station, and today I'm getting to have a chat with Dave Rucki, drummer for Sentinels, who are due to release their stomping album Collapsed by Design tomorrow, Friday the 26th of October. It's their debut full-length album, which follows on from the Idealist and World Divide EPs, and it comes out through Sharptone Records. Dave, cheers for joining me, man.
Hey man, thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure.
Dude, I was just asking you about the songwriting process. I'm keen to find out about the songwriting because the tracks I've heard of this are bloody unreal, man. I really want to know about your process with making this album.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is the first album where we really did, come together as a band a lot of the time, and we all kind of got to share our feelings and input about the song. All the songs were essentially started by our guitar player Chris, who's the main songwriter and composer in the band. And the first time we heard the songs, we were like, "Wow! This is it sounds overall a lot more mature, well thought out." And because we learned a lot from recording our last record, Unsound Recollections, with our producer Randy LaBeouf. So I think that definitely helped him in terms of song structure. And then when we had a full skeleton and almost a fully fleshed out song, we all got together and we threw in our little ideas and our pitches there, and then took it to Randy LaBeouf at Graphic Nature Studios, and we really got to elevate these songs with his input, and it really did come out a lot better than we ever could have expected. Because we went into the studio thinking the album was perfect just by our own means, and then when Randy touched it, we were like, "Oh man, it could be so much better," and it was really a game changer for us. So yeah, that's basically that.
It's a killer album. It's one of those things in the metal scene where I come across so many metal bands and I keep getting blown away by the quality. That Inertia track, I think that was the first one I heard, and I cranked the hell out of it on my radio show, man. Can you tell us a little bit about that track, dude?
Oh yeah, well, thank you. First of all, that's amazing. Yeah, so Inertia, when we first started writing that one, we were like, man, this one is an absolute ass beater. I don't know if I can say that on your show
yeah,
or
you
not,
said
but
it, mate.
I apologize. Yeah, it was an ass beater of a track. It was all over the place and wild, and it definitely is one of the best representations of our wild side in the band. And when it came time for vocals and stuff like that, we were actually transitioning vocalists at the time.
Yeah.
And so while we were in the studio looking for a new vocalist, I was basically tasked with writing the lyrics because I had already started writing lyrics for a couple other songs, and our producer liked what I was writing, and he was like, you're really good at writing patterns and the story that's engaging, so I really think you should write the lyrics while you guys try to find a new guy. And I was like, oh, okay, not only do I have to track drums for 12 songs, now I got to write for 11 of them. That's awesome. So I just got to grinding on lyrics, and being that the song has such a frantic and crazy nature, it really took me to a pretty dark and spastic place, and sadly to say, it took me back to times when I was struggling with suicidal tendencies, and it really put me in that headspace. So it really talks about the different things that go through someone's mind when they're struggling with suicidal thoughts. It's one minute you're thinking, I'm just going to end it all because I can't take this pain anymore, but then you think, well, maybe I should tell somebody, and then you tell somebody, and then that person will say to you, oh, that's selfish, and you're weak for thinking that, and then you think to yourself some more, and you go, I'm not weak, I'm just in pain, and the fact that you can't understand this is upsetting. So it's kind of like a frantic mindset of somebody struggling with suicidal thoughts, and when writing it and writing the patterns and lyrics along to the song, I was like, man, I think this is working, and I'm glad that the people enjoyed the song as much as they did, and apparently a lot of people related to it, and that was another big thing for me, was trying to make our lyrical aspect a lot more relatable so that we can connect with more people.
Yeah, it's important. I think it's great that bands like yourself and other bands, I've had this conversation a lot, especially through the last couple of years, about, that we're all suffering, at the moment, and there's a lot of focus on mental health, which is good to see bands like yourself speaking up about it. I had a chat the other day with another band, and they were talking about mental health issues, and from Caesar as well, they were talking about it. It's unreal, and it's really good to see someone who's also battled with mental health problems, man. It's music's the one thing that's kind of got me through where I am, and I suppose it's a lot the same for you, Dave, with Sentinels. Having that escape has kind of really helped mentally as well going forward, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, when I was when I was a kid, music, and when I discovered metal music, for me, it was, like you said, it was an escape, and it was a way to, just let out that aggression in a way, like not by hurting people, just by listening to it and letting those emotions fly. And especially when it came to writing this, like, I looked at it almost as like, oh man, I have all this extra homework to do. But then I didn't realize that I probably was not to say like I was the best person for the job, but for me, I had so much pent up crap in my life from over like 10 to 15 years, and all these negative emotions that I never let out in a healthy way. And I was like, wow, I can finally put these thoughts onto paper. Yeah. And if I had trouble writing from personal experience, I would put myself in somebody else's shoes who experienced what I experienced, but on a more, intense level.
Yeah. So with the songwriting, like you doing the lyrics a lot more on this album, is this the first album where you've had such a big input with the lyrics, or was it the same with the earlier EPs and the Unsound Recollections?
This is definitely the one where I had the most like control or the most input. On World Divide, that EP, I did write the lyrics and vocal patterns for the song Decadence, because at the time our vocalist, he was kind of like fresh out of ideas. So I told him I had these ideas, and I pitched them forward, and everyone seemed to like them. And, funny enough, even though I can't stand that EP anymore, like most of the band says, like when they do go back to it, the Decadence is their favorite song. So that's like a little, like, I guess, victory for me, even though I'm sure it's all the music to them. But, and then I contributed a few little, like, filler lines here and there on Unsound Recollections. Like, also when our vocalist at the time, couldn't think of, like, what to put here, I had all these lines and different thoughts, like, jotted down, like, in my phone. It's like, whenever something comes to my mind now, I'm like, all right, write it down, because it could be helpful. And so, yeah. So, but this was the one where I really did have like the whole thing like in my hands.
Yep. What was the initial first track you sat down and done for the album?
The first one was To Wither Away.
Yep.
Because when Chris sent me the demo for To Wither Away, it was initially just about a minute and a half of music, and it went all the way up until like the first chorus. And when I heard the chorus, it just clicked in my head, and I just was like kind of mouthing out these like rhythms and like these like little scratch vocals over it, and I was like, oh my god. And so I texted our vocalist at the time, and I was like, dude, don't write anything for this one, I've got this. And once the chorus came to me, everything else came to me naturally. But I took a lot of time going over and revising lines in that song, because it felt so special to me that I was able to so quickly connect with a song musically and what it was taking out of me naturally. And so that was the first one, and that was the first song that I realized, like, man, maybe I can be a lyricist, you know?
Definitely. And then with Josh, you were saying as you were replacing the vocalist, Josh coming in, man, he's got an amazing set of pipes, and he just fits so bloody well. Tell us about finding him, and where'd you get him from?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. His voice was an instant seller for us. So when we were in the studio and we had our previous vocalist leave the band, we we were kind of in this terrifying moment where we're like, oh man, the world's shutting down. We need a new vocalist. And I didn't know what else to do. I was very desperate because we couldn't find anybody available that we liked. So I reached out to JT Cavey from Era, who has been like a longtime buddy of mine. Like we used to be in online like band projects together. And I was just like, dude, I hate to ask you this again, but do you know any available vocalists who want to be in a progressive metalcore band? And he said, Josh Hardiman, 100%. And he sent me his Instagram, and he, like, I saw on there he had a lot of raw, like, natural, like, phone audio vocal covers, and I was like, oh my God, this guy is not only loud, and, like, his voice has so much emotion, but his articulation and the way he enunciates words is incredible. And that his style of vocal is like exactly what we wanted for our band, because, you know, being that we're on Sharptone Records now, I'm like, man, like I really dig, like we all personally are huge fans of like that metalcore style of vocal, and we were like, not saying that we like, oh, we wanted a vocalist to fit in more, but like it definitely helped get us out of this weird world where we were in, where everyone thought we were a deathcore band at one point, even though we never thought that. I'm like, well, maybe because we love this guy's voice so much, we think it'll fit really well, and it'll also kind of put that weird opinion to rest. So yeah, we couldn't be happier with him. He literally took the vision, like, and the voice that I was hearing in my head straight out of my head and put it on the album.
Yeah, come out really well, and to be up with Sharptone Records as well, they're a great label showcasing some of the best metalcore, hardcore bands in the world. It must be pretty cool working with them as well for this album.
Yeah, absolutely. From the day that they launched, man, we knew that if there was a home for us out there for a label, it was them. And just, you know, every day that goes by that they sign a new band, I'm like, hell yeah, this band's awesome. And it just feels good to be a part of a roster where, like, every band is freaking awesome. So it feels great. And there's such a big family vibe there, which feels amazing.
Yeah, and with this album, as you said, you went through that time, you know, changing the vocalist and making the album, and then, you know, getting yourself in that headspace for it all. It must be good to finally get this release out tomorrow and then be able to play some bloody shows with it coming up.
Oh, yeah. I have been dreaming about this day for the past 2.5 years. It's insane. And to know that our next tour is with Born of Osiris, a band that I've been listening to since high school, and like my guitar players like have been listening to, and bass, like everyone in my band has been a fan of Born of Osiris since we were young. So to know that is our tour that we can promote this album on is like a dream come true. And they seem like really cool guys, and then the other bands on the tour, Shadow of Intent, Signs of the Swarm, they're already like close friends of ours, so we're basically like walking into a dream situation for our first tour after the album comes out.
Is this the first time you've played live since everything's kind of fucking hit in, the pandemic and everything else as well?
No, we played 2 shows over the summer, just opening, like kind of as like, you know, a local for Lorna Shore's EP release shows, okay. And then just right before those shows, they sent us an offer for their U.S. album release tour that we just completed a couple of weeks ago. And pretty much like right as we were getting home from this tour, we got the offer from Born of Osiris, and we were like, yeah, let's go.
Damn, it must be good to play live.
It feels amazing.
It must be so good to play live after the year we've had and the way the scene has bloody been impacted. I can't wait till we start getting shows like this over here in Australia. I tell you what, when I seen this one announced, I think it was 9th of October or something like that, you just put that flyer up for the Born of Osiris tour. I'm like, dude, that would be an amazing tour to get over in Australia. I'd love to get you guys over here. It would just be absolutely bloody unreal.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as soon as we get the okay that we can go over there, that is, you know, that Australia is one of the places that I've been wanting to go for so long, and I know we all have. So, yeah, I was actually talking to Mitch from Alpha Wolf recently about this, and I was like, man, I would love to be over in Australia, dude. Like, so hopefully one day we can make that happen.
Yeah, well, the hardcore metalcore scene over here is pretty unreal as well, so it'd just be a fucking great show. Do you have a track that stands out that you're loving playing live at the moment, since you played with Lorna Shore and you got one coming up? Have you got one you've been loving playing live off the new album, or one that you're really keen to play off the new album?
Yeah, I mean, I really do enjoy playing Albatross live. That one seems to get a lot of good reactions live, and like it's got a lot of great groove moments that I can just really lay into my drums there. And To Wither Away is another one that has been really fun to play live and seems to get a lot of engagement out of the crowd. And even though that song technically doesn't have a breakdown, it's still amazing to see people like circle pit and mosh and everything. It's been wild. So yeah, man. And I don't know if I gave you a heads up before we started this. I do have another call at 7, unfortunately.
No, we're about to sign out, Dave.
So I apologize.
No. Thank you very much, Dave.
Not to rush you or anything.
No, absolute pleasure, Dave. I'll let you get onto it. That way you can get a coffee before the next one, dude. Do you have any last words, shout-outs, or thank yous you'd like to add in there, my friend?
Oh, yeah, tons. Big shout-out to Sharptone Records. They are the home and foundation that showed faith in us and saw something special in us. So, if you guys are listening out there, Collapse by Design, October 22nd on Sharptone Records worldwide. Shout out to our managers, Josh Bulgarian and Scott Lee, for making this all possible for us. Obviously I know this is an Australian show, but if any U.S. listeners hear this and don't know, we'll be on tour with Born Of Osiris, Shadow of Intent, and Signs of the Swarm from October 29th to November 20th. So come out to a show, pre-order our album, whatever the hell you want. It's been a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome, Dave. You have a lovely evening, man, and cheers for joining me, mate.
You as well, man. Take care.
No worries, bro. See ya.
When you're not the